Alright, so now that we understand what we should do to practice for the academic reading section before the IELTS exam, in the last two videos paraphrasing the paragraphs and using critical thinking, now let's talk about the ways to answer questions for the reading section during the test. So, academic reading, answering questions during the test. So the first and most important advice that I have to give you for answering questions in your 1 hour during the reading section of the IELTS exam is do not read all of the questions before you read the passage. Many teachers, many schools tell students to read the questions before they read the passage. This is not a good idea. The reason is because many of the questions in the reading section contain information which is false or is not in the reading passage, and this will really confuse you when you come to the questions. So do not read all questions before you read the passage. Okay, so there are about 11 different types of questions that you can see in the IELTS reading section, and I'm going to list those for you. So 11 types of questions. And some of them you can read because some of them have information which is simply a paraphrase from the passage, and you can skim read these types of questions before you read the passage because they will help you to better understand the passage and also better understand the question. So these ones it's okay to read or skim read before the passage. So they are matching information, summary completion, fill in the blanks, finding paragraph headings, which is a unique one, diagram completion, category and table completion, okay, so these ones, matching information, summary completion, fill in the blanks, finding paragraph headings, diagram completion, category table completion, these ones you should look at before you look at the passage. All of them contain information which is in the passage, so this will help you, except for finding paragraph headings. But finding paragraph headings is a special type of question, and we'll talk about that later. Now, the kinds of questions that you don't want to look at are the following. True, false, not given, or the same as yes, no, not given. Matching sentence endings. Multiple choice. matching features. And let's put yes, no, not given. So with these types of questions in the reading passages, true, false, not given, matching sentence endings, multiple choice, matching features, and yes, no, not given, do not read these, do not skim read these before you read the passage. So if you see these types of questions, just forget about them. Look at the passage first and only look at the questions after you finish reading the passage. The reason why is because these types of questions have lots of information which is false or not in the passage, and they will confuse you if you read them before the passage. You will not remember if you read the information in the passage or in the question when you're trying to answer. So make sure you do not read these types before you read the passage. Only these ones here, okay? It will waste your time to read these, and it will also make it very difficult to get a high score. So again, make sure you do not read all the questions before you read the passage. There are 11 different types, and these are the 11 types here. These ones you can read, these ones you shouldn't read. Now, the people who make the IELTS, the way that they increase the difficulty of each passage, so passage 2 is more difficult than passage 1, passage 3 is more difficult than passage 2. The way that the IELTS people do this is by putting more questions like this into passage 2 and passage 3. So when you have more questions which have false or not given information, the questions become more difficult. That's why usually for passage 1 you can read all the questions, because usually they're these types of questions. And for passage 2, about half of the questions are these type, the other half are these type. And for passage 3, you will often find that during the exam, most of the questions for passage 3 are these kinds of questions. So be very, very careful about that. Alright, so let's talk about a couple of more just general answering question strategies while you're doing the test before we go on to specific question examples. Again, this information is taken from www.ahelp.com, so if you need more advice and for more practice and help, make sure to visit us there. Alright, let's look at a couple of more hints or ideas that will help you during the exam.